Hey everybody, it's Tim Sackett. Welcome back to another episode of HR Famous. We've been away for a while. I mean, the fall gets busy, and so to get the three of us together, and of course I'm joined by JLee and Madeline Laurano. Ladies, how are you?
Doing well. I'm glad to be here. It feels like we were just talking and that was like June, I think. No, it's
Yeah.
September.
That's also the last time I worked out, ironically, Madeline. I think I just took the summer off from exercising, podcasting. I need to go exercise.
I always do that. I knew it had been a while for the three of us when I got a message from somebody and they said it would be because they saw me on a webcast and they were like, it'd be so great if you had a podcast. I'm like, oh,
Dagger in the heart.
bitch. No.
Clearly not a super fan. My God, just
Super
who
fan.
was that person?
Not at all. You guys saw this week. We had Disrupt HR. Madeline and I just got back from HR Tech. Like just the energy of people that are going to in-person events right now is, to me, I can't remember it being ever like more higher. Like it's
Right.
like people are excited to be back. The hugs are abound. Like, and I love that. But like, come on, like it's nutty.
But wait, before we talk about like HR conferences, this is a little bit of an HR famous thing. So I'm just really like weirded out. So you all have to tell me what this is like about. I was at an event. I was speaking at it. It was for Fast Company, no big deal. But anyways, at the end of it, like I had a few people come up to me. I don't know them. And they're like, can I take a picture with you? And like, are you supposed to say no? So I just said yes because I was so like surprised. But then I'm like, I don't know you. What are you going to do with this picture? Like, that's weird. Is that weird? Or should I just be flattered and say thank you? I just really am like, what are you doing with my picture?
So
Like, what will you do with it?
Yeah, like I think Madeline, I saw the line at your session, so I'm sure somebody.
I would want to take a picture with her.
I'm sure
Nobody has asked me for a picture. You have both been approached. I mean, you've been approached at the airports asking for pictures and autographs. I'm not that level of anything.
No,
But we'll
to
do,
me
we'll
though,
do the
I would.
picture.
I
Yeah,
I
dude, I
always
would
ask
do the
people, like I tell
picture.
people to tag me, like, hey, tag me if you're gonna like put that on like LinkedIn or whatever you do, so I know kind of where it goes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't see what happened to it. Like, am I a poster on someone's wall, or am I like the face of like a voodoo doll, and they're like sticking it with pins? Like, what? Like, I don't know.
There's a heart around you. Yeah.
yeah, it's funny. Hey, so one thing that happened to me, like, I literally, because I come back, like our event was like on Wednesday, I come back on Thursday morning, and I have like, a pocket full of like business cards. And so I asked going to ask you guys, like, and I know HR Tech too. I literally, I like dump out my backpack. Can we be past like the business card thing? Like I don't
Yes.
even, I know I have business cards somewhere. I haven't ordered them in so long. I can't even, I don't even know what the title would be on my business card. And people always ask me like, oh, could you have a card? I'm like, no, what year are we in?
I
But
know.
we still are, like, what do you do with business cards? Jessica, I know people are like, vendors are trying to give you business cards. Madeline, I know you had people giving you business cards at HR Tech. Like, do you guys just throw
I'd
them?
say I brought them home and I kept them, but I really don't have any myself. So everybody said, can I have your card? And I didn't have a card. And then they just scanned the QR code. So
Oh, do you use the LinkedIn QR code?
no, but on the badge at HR Tech, there was you could scan
Okay,
the
yeah, yeah.
QR code and then connect there in the app. Or someone could just take a picture of your name and find you on LinkedIn, which is
Yeah.
just as easy and probably more effective than an email. So I have the business cards, but I don't ever use them. And I don't use them for follow-up. I just find people on LinkedIn and send a follow-up anyway. There's one card that I do have that I saved, and it's Kat Kibben's card with dogs on it.
Oh yeah. Well, at that point, you're like, okay, yeah, give me another reason to use that. Jay, you started using something else, right?
Well, I'm going to, but when people used to ask me for cards, I would feel so pretentious because I would say, just Google me. Just Google me and you'll find my contact info, which I'm sure came off as really obnoxious. But you're right, people give me cards. And actually, someone at work this week, we were talking about business cards and they were so offended. They were like, this is a sustainability issue. Like, why do we have business cards? Like, we're wasting paper. Like, they were like really upset, and they were like, the next generation's not going to be using business cards. Like, this is so bad for the environment. Like, it was like impassioned, this person's response. I was like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. But what we're moving to, because we've been talking about business cards, is there's this I mean, I think there's a few companies that do
Yeah.
it, but like, it's like an RFID thing where you just tap it against someone's phone, which I love, and then it just
Mhm.
downloads their contact information. It has a website built into it. But yeah, I don't know what to do with business cards, and now I'm like freaked out about the environment. It's like the new straw. It's the business card.
Straw. The
I
business
did.
Yep, the
cards.
I did
turtle
have a.
doves.
Did have a tech guy at HR Tech like, go, oh no, here I got this thing, and just set your phone by mine, or like get him close or whatever, and the like his like contact info gets immediately sucked into my contacts. I'm like, well, I don't know if I want that. Like, I don't like slow down. Like, I don't want
When
you.
you talk about it, it's like our phones next to each other and it sucked up the contact info. I mean, I don't want that either. That sounds gross. Like,
I'm just like, so I do think like, but then like the LinkedIn like QR code thing always sounds like the best. But every time I
Right.
try to like do it, like it takes me 15 minutes to try to find how to like how do I get the goddamn link like the QR code up again? And then like some 7-year-olds like stands there and goes, it's right here. Stop it.
I took a picture. Like I like to just take the picture of the name, but this is a funny
And then you
story. At
never
that
go back
conference,
and
yeah, you never. I exactly. But I was at this conference in Vegas. I think it was Unleash America in May,
yeah.
and I was at a dinner, and it was a great dinner. It was lots of HR leaders. It was the vendor was great, and I ended up drinking probably too much wine. And I woke up the next morning with like 20 pictures of people's badges. I was like, who are these people?
Hey, at least it was only pictures of badges. Like you're
It was just
like,
badges. Yeah. Not even faces. So I was like, I don't even know what this is about.
that is so funny. So, Madeline, we want to do a little bit of debrief in terms of HR tech. I know Jessica couldn't make it out this year, but you've been many times. Um, it was big. Give
Yeah.
me some insights. What did you think?
I thought it was great. Even thinking back to last year was great because it was like a mini reunion for so many of us, and we
Yeah,
hadn't seen each other. We could hug, we were in masks, but it was less people. So it definitely felt different. This year felt like full force, big energy. I think you called it big energy.
yeah,
And we felt that there was hugging, reunions. It felt like a lot of buyers. The expo felt busier than I've ever seen it. And I think that HR Tech and LRP did an awesome job of having sessions in the expo. They had the pitch fest in the expo,
yeah.
and they had, lots of tech talks there too.
You know what they need to do though? So the Pitch Fest one is a little bit different because I think when people are pitching, people are listening. The other like the other stage that they had, I think they need to do the silent disco thing where they have like the
Yeah.
headphones on and you can
Yeah.
hear the speaker really good because there's so much noise and energy in
Yeah.
the expo. It
Yeah.
was really hard for me to hear those speakers. Again, like at the Pitch Fest, I was probably closer and like as a judge and stuff like that. That's a little bit easier, but I also think people are, because it's such a small time frame of having 3 minutes, people are just listening like better. I don't know,
Right.
maybe it's like in a quieter part of the expo, but I wish they do. I did the LinkedIn Talent Connect one time. I had to present there, and I was in that. They did that. They tried that out where it was in the middle of their expo, and they did the silent disco thing, and I loved it. It was so amazing because you're literally like you're talking into somebody's like into like in their
Oh,
head, like you're like they were completely focused on you, and it was such a like powerful experience. And I'm like, oh, that's way better.
So wait, what is
did
it? Tell me
you?
what this silent disco is.
So the whole concept of silent disco was everyone puts on headphones and they hear the music in the headphones, but it's quiet everywhere else, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if you think about, so they basically have what they LinkedIn
They're
did.
like on a private frequency or channel,
Yes, and
basically.
what LinkedIn
Awesome.
did, and so yeah, so you could actually have different music, whatever you want to listen to. But I think most people in the silent disco listen to the same stuff, but it's just a different vibe because it's not this pont like bomb bomb like everyone has the headphones on, you're just dancing. And then when you walk in though, it looks completely alien because it's quiet.
People are just dancing
We're just
silently.
dancing. So
Love it.
that's the concept. But like in a conference, like in the middle of an expo, when there's all that noise and people having conversations, you can still have a speaker that has like a headset on with a microphone, and then everybody has headphones on, so all they're hearing is you. And again, like like you're in their head. And what you see is people don't even interact with each other because they have headsets on and they're just totally focused on you. I've never spoken at an event where I had more focus. Like
Right.
I was speaking right into their brains,
Mm.
And then you also have like, it's a different psychological, like intimacy that you have because nobody else, because I'm not going through a speaker, I'm just going to them. So somebody would have to be within like 5-10 feet to actually hear what I'm saying. And so like the audience, like you're almost sharing like this private moment, right? Because nobody,
But did you feel like there's like you don't get the feedback like the or like the
they
laughter
still,
like
they
and
still
that was okay?
yeah, they
Or
still
you could
that feedback was they would laugh, they would like,
okay.
whatever.
Oh,
Because, but still nobody else could like, why is that person laughing? Like they don't know
right.
what they're saying.
Oh, we
So
got to
Well,
bring this
so
to restaurants. Imagine like having like a big group dinner and then you've got these
oh.
silent disco going on.
Oh, I like that. You said there were like buyers, like you thought there were really a lot of buyers there?
yeah, I think the vendors that I talked with really felt like they were getting a lot out of it. I mean, last year, I mean, again, it was probably comparable to last year when a lot of people just didn't want to come out still because of the pandemic stuff. I thought from a size, energy standpoint, it was similar to their last big one in 2019. Madeline, did you kind of,
Yeah, I
I mean,
felt like that too. I just felt like the expo was busier than I've ever seen it, and I
yeah,
think that's just because of a lot of what they did to drive some traffic there. And then I think it always depends on where your booth is. Like if you've got it, a lot of the vendors that will complain typically have the booths that are small that they got last minute in the back.
yeah, no doubt. But like again, like the startup pavilion and the pitch fest and like a lot of, I mean, seemed like there was a lot of great stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
always,
women in tech. I don't know, Jessica,
oh,
if we shared this, but this was crazy to me because the first women in tech was probably Tim like 5 years ago.
yeah, yeah,
And there were it was just a new concept for HR tech, and there weren't a lot of people that attended. This time it was standing room only for the
Wow.
first session, and the second session they actually had to close the door and they wouldn't let anybody else in because there were already too many people standing that it was a fire
Mm,
hazard.
that's
So the women in
that's
tech
great.
was crazy.
Why
that's
do you, why
amazing.
do we think that is? I mean, so here's one of the things so some of the buyers that I spoke with, so I'm trying to preface this, like there's a lot of kind of moving pieces, right? One is from a competency standpoint, from an HR leader, I think technology has to be one of the top 3 competencies they must have right in today's world. And yet so many of those HR leaders, and I'm talking about all functional areas of HR, talent management, talent acquisition, benefits, employee relations, whatever, just overall kind of HR, you have to have a competency, a strong technology competency. You don't have to be a developer and know how the APIs work. You better know how your tech works and and know the landscape, right? And so I'm always shocked that there's not more people coming to this from a practitioner or buyer perspective. But then the people the practitioners I did talk with, they weren't super excited about the content, because a lot of it is big giant HCM and a customer on stage together talking about their experience or how they launched internal mobility, which I think for some would be interesting. But what we tend to find out is those practitioner speakers from the vendor, even though they might come from a giant, they're not Jessica, right? Even though they come from a giant, kind of brand, and they have a giant title, they might not be schooled as a speaker, right, to be able to hold the stage for an hour. So
Yeah.
some of that
Yeah.
content can fall short. I don't blame LRP for that. I blame the vendor and their selection, right?
Mm.
But the vendor is like, well, we want to give our showiest brand and our biggest title, and they think that's going to do the thing, and then they can prop them up with their own salespeople or marketing people or whatever, and too often it just falls short. Like Madeline, like the feedback from your session was great, but like again, that's not a vendor-led session. That's real content that was developed by somebody who has a deep expertise, has experience being on stage and holding that stage, and that's a completely different level of content than what a lot of the content tends to be
Yeah.
at HR Tech. Jessica, I guess my question for you is like being somebody from big enterprise brand, big title, their LRP and all the vendors want you there. So would make you go, or what would get you to come to HR tech on a regular basis, and people like at your level?
Like as a speaker or as an attendee or both?
Let's do both. I mean, I know why you would come as a speaker, like, but you can still talk about it, but like as an attendee, like why would you come as an attendee?
You know, I don't know that I would, to be honest. Like if I would come to a show at this point, it's I want to come hang out with my friends and like, have time with people. But like I feel like I'm so inundated with content, pitches, vendors, like just as is, that like going to a show just feels like duplicative to a certain degree. And then like the other thing is like I really would rather my team be there, like digging
Mm.
in and really like asking the detailed questions and coming back to me saying like, this is what I saw and this is what I think we need to be looking at. Cause like there's so much closer to it. Cause I think like from a speaker perspective, if you'd put me on stage and I were to talk about what am I looking at for LXPs, for
Yeah.
example, and like how are we implementing something, like for big enterprise, I just don't know that it always feels as relatable to everyone. Like, I'm going to have an implementation partner. I'm going to have internal change
Yes.
management support. I'm going to have like this gigantic army that I put against things. And like, I'm up here talking about some lofty thing. And like, you have like the amount of money, like, I hate to say it, but the amount of money I would pour into implementation of something, the selection process, the
Yeah.
implementation of something, it's just not relatable. Where, so like, I'd have to really figure out what am I going to talk about that does feel right? So it just feels inaccessible. I think that the speakers that really are the ones in the past I have found the most relatable are like medium-sized businesses where they're like in the trenches implementing. But like in the past when I was in that type of company, like my name wasn't attractive, my company brand wasn't attractive. And the only reason why I would be put up there as a speaker is because I'm quote unquote HR famous. And like otherwise they're like, I don't know your company, I don't even want to come see you talk. So I think it's really hard for some of these conference organizers to figure out like right sweet spot of speakers.
Madeline, and she makes a point. Like we've talked about how to vendors constantly want the SVP of some giant brand as they think that's the buyer, right? And ultimately, it is the buyer that's going to sign off, but it's their team that usually elevates the technology and
Yes.
the idea.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so often I think that's missed. We're like, it's like, oh, we want to throw this dinner, and they just want CHROs and VPs of whatever, and you're just like. Yeah, but there's a bunch of directors and managers here that are the ones who are really out there with getting their hands dirty, playing with the tech, understanding what they want, what they don't want. And their leaders are taking that feedback and making the decision. And so really they're the ones that you should be influencing. And yet so often I think they're the
Totally.
ones that are
Yeah.
forgotten. Madeline's coming to Michigan Recruits because we're doing that in November. And when I talk to like people to sponsor, like vendors, they're always like, well, is that a leader conference or is that a practitioner conference? I'm like, well, half the people in there will have a leader title, director, manager, VP, right? The other half are like actual users. And they'll be recruiters and in that. But it's a total miss that they think if they're not a leader, then we don't want to come.
Welcome to the Hire Her podcast, where women in talent call all the shots. We know, another recruiting podcast, just what the industry needs. Okay, but hear us out. You ever spend hours sourcing that perfect candidate, but they end up ghosting you harder than your Hinge date? Or finally, you get that hiring manager feedback, only for them to, of course, say, can we see more candidates? Lame, right? But let's talk about what's really lame in the industry. How is it that 65% of recruiters are brilliant women, yet most of the decision makers look like a convention for middle-aged dudes named Brad?
That's where we come in. Hire Her isn't just another podcast about hiring trends you already heard like 50 times this week. We're here to elevate women in talent, share their career journeys, and make sure they take the lead. Because let's face it, if recruiting is the backbone of every company, why are we still fighting for a seat at the table? So whether you're a recruiter, a talent leader, or just someone trying to swim through the sausage fest of TA leadership, we got you, girl. Welcome to Hire Her, the recruiting podcast where women's voices aren't just heard, but they're leading the conversation.
So subscribe now, because middle management Brad sure as hell isn't going to do it for you.
I think so too. That's the first thing I thought of when you were talking, Jessica, is you're sending your team to, that's what you said, I'm sending my team to give me feedback and report back to me and influence me on my decisions. And that's exactly what happens. And it is like so many vendors, especially startups, will brush over those people and think like, well, I need to get in touch with Jessica, forget these people. And it's such a miss. It's such a miss.
Yeah.
Total miss. Total miss. I love sending my team to events like that, though. And I think that, like, if they're not being given the time of day, like for me, the analogy of that is like, you know, that old adage of like, you see how people treat the receptionist when they come in for an interview. It's like, that's the person you need to really respect and woo.
Yep.
It's not like me. It is like my team that I need you in there with it, with them. And they're to get brushed off, like, ooh, that's gross to me.
Yeah, they're
I know. And then
influencers.
this year with HR Tech, Workday Rising was the same time. So there, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously you have thousands and thousands of Workday users going to Workday Rising, and they haven't had that in person. So
Yeah.
people had decisions to make. I think in normal
And
years, they're
Success
not.
Connect.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And I know Oracle. You guys are an Oracle shop, Jay, but like I think like your leaders and teams of big enterprise have to make a decision. Like maybe one year we go to HR Tech, and then the next year we go to like the user conference or the big HCM conference, whatever that might be, and kind of go back and forth, or divide and conquer, which usually happens because your teams are big enough to kind of. But people kind of swap around. But I think a lot of shops are trying to figure out like where and why from that. But
Right. And it might even be limited because we're kind of in a weird year still. One thing, too, with kind of the content piece, Tim, is one session that I didn't get to go to, but I heard was amazing, which was, I think, an exception to what you're talking about, is
yeah.
the McDonald's
Oh no,
session.
yeah,
So
with Josh.
they talked about,
Yeah.
I think Josh, I don't think Josh was in I know he did the Workday one, but the
Yeah.
HR Tech
Oh,
one, I think two people from McDonald's talked about the McHire story with Paradox,
yeah.
and everyone loved that. They just went crazy for that session.
By the way, like that's truly the future of hiring in so many ways.
Yeah, especially for high volume.
Well, when you take a look, like I'm working with a client out of Texas, and I'm going down to speak with them next week, and I'm giving them the McHire like kind of story in the process because that's how easy it should be, and that's how it should work. And like to me, it's amazing. And then we see more and more. I mean, at Madeline, I know you have seen this too, and even Jessica, with the amount of like hourly hiring that you guys do globally, like everyone's trying to move to that like kind of driven process of how do we do this so much faster. There was a lot of energy around not just Paradox, but like that entire high volume hourly technology kind of space that's blown up over the last 18 to 24 months.
And texting in general. So not just, text recruiting is obviously a topic I love, and Tim loves, but beyond that, like a lot of the Pitch Fest companies were around texting. And there was one company called, I think it was Team Sense, and they do texting for frontline workers about employee communication. So if you're going to do open enrollment or you want to change your benefits, it's just through text, which is how it should be. It shouldn't be through an email on a laptop they don't own.
I saw another one for frontline workers that was texting. It was scheduling based, right? So it was like, we're gonna text you your schedule, and then immediately they go, what do you think? Like, what do you think about your schedule? Are you happy with it? Are you not happy? Like scale 1 to 5, whatever, right? Because, and then if you said, well, like, oh, this sucks. Like I asked for Friday off because my kid's soccer game. And again, this is all based kind of conversational AI, but through SMS, they would immediately then make that adjustment and change, because what they found was like 90% of, or not 90%, 70% of 90-day turnover, the number one reason is scheduling.
Schedules.
Wow.
And so like they figured out a way, like, how do we really kind of build this in and help people like fix that? Because so often it's just, you have someone that's, over their head, and they're trying to do operations, and they get scheduling thrown on them, and they do it. And then people are like, well, that sucks. Like especially like in tipped weight, kind of scenarios or whatever. Like, or if someone gets like, oh, well, Tim's my Saturday night guy, and we always put him Saturday night. I'm like, I might hate Saturday night. Like, why you keep putting me Saturday night?
Scheduling, like for in the retail or service environment, having to manage that scheduling and all of the like emotion and drama that comes with it, to like take that off of like a manager's plate, I think is amazing, because it takes so much emotion out of it. But here's the other place, like I've been exploring texting is related to learning. And I actually have been doing a pilot with this company called Arist, and it's text-based learning. And I actually was doing harassment prevention training via text, and it was certain numbers of engagement per day, and they were, and like I like to have something like harassment prevention made like a little bit more engaging via text message. I loved it, and like they even had emojis, and like we're trying to make it a little bit more of a, I don't know, palatable content, because that topic isn't exciting for anyone, but I think there's so much potential in that space.
There was a
I
lot of
do too.
talk, Jay, about skills, the skills economy, the skills
Everyone's talking about
Yep.
technology.
skills.
And Madeline, were you at Josh's Person's keynote?
I
Um,
wasn't, but I wish I was, and I saw a lot of the clips, and I like what he said a lot about skills from what I
Well, and
saw.
part of it was like, cause I think, and he was early on the whole skills thing,
Yeah.
but then like he isn't and everything, but like, he had talked about like, hey, it's not a panacea. This isn't going to solve all of our problems. Like, but people are trying to act like that, this is like the future of HR. And I think he kind of like was like, slow your roll a little bit. I have
It's
not been-
hard. I think that was like the other thing he said. It's like this is really, really hard.
So
This is
hard.
not.
It's like a data issue that I don't think people realize. Like, it seemed they're like, oh, we're like moving to skills space, but like this is like a data infrastructure issue at the core,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
like they don't get that part right.
Well, and there's also like just it's theory versus reality in a lot of aspects, right? We think theoretically that whole idea of judging somebody on the skills they have and letting them build their skills profile, is making them more valuable. But at the end of the day, you still have a hiring manager that goes, wait a minute. Yeah, Jessica was great. I talked to her. She says she has all these skills, but like she's never worked in this title of this job,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And like that becomes problematic because they still want somebody that has either worked in that job. And like we were like, oh, Jessica was an accountant, but then she did all this skills development and training and talent management. And now she wants to be an HR executive. And someone in HR to me like, she's an accountant.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like we still have that issue, right, of being able to kind of break through the reality of what that is. But I tell you, like, I think besides obviously like the giant focus around talent acquisition technology at HR tech, the second one had to be like the whole skills thing, right?
Skills.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
An Eightfold, Workday. There's providers that really do it. Like they're doing the work around skills, like Eightfold, Workday, SAP, Oracle, and some others as well. But then there's a lot of startups and a lot of just ATSs that are kind of lumping into this category that probably don't belong at all.
Yeah, the third aspect, that we saw out there was this kind of advent of invisible technology, and it's really it's the hired scores, the job syncs of the world. Like it's like, hey, you have all these pieces of technology. You have 25 in your stack. It's never working the way you think it should work. It's always problematic. And now they're like coming in and saying, hey, we're going to make all this stuff work the way you want, right? So the hard part for me, I think for them is how do you sell invisible technology to an HR buyer? Because everybody
can't see it.
Everybody wants to see the dashboard. Like they want to see what it does. And you're like, well, you know how your crap doesn't work? We make it work. And they're just like, seems like witchcraft. But it's really good stuff. Like it's a little over the head of an average buyer, right? But you're like going, hey, if your stuff isn't doing what it should be doing, you need to really take a look at this invisible technology that's going to make your crap work the way it should. And I just think it's an uphill road for them because it's so hard to sell. Because you're like, hey, I want to talk to you. I want to demo. And they're just like, well, I can't really demo anything. And you're like, well, what am I paying all this money for then?
Yeah, and it's like they're going to market with talent orchestration and orchestra. I think both of them are JobSync and Hired Score.
Which makes complete sense, by the way.
Yeah, which makes complete sense. And IT is all about it. I mean, ServiceNow is all about it. This is a real thing. I think there's a lot of education that it's exciting to happen for TA, to happen for HR, and it's working. So maybe it's IT's more involved in some of these decisions.
Yeah, like Jessica, I think it's hard for like you as a buyer of like talent management kind of technology to go, well, wait a minute, I paid all this money for this stuff. It should work. Why am I going to now pay another piece of technology I can't even see to make it all work? And you're like, well, that's because it's hard to take 6 or 7 or 8 or 20 some pieces of technology and put it together and think it's going to work properly together.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
100%. You know what? That was like a call I was on this morning with someone on my team I was like, he was showing me our current ecosystem just in the space of learning.
Yeah.
And it was like a slide with all these honeycombs. And I'm like, well, you're missing some pieces.
Yeah.
Cause like, what about this? What about that? And like, literally it's like 20 things in addition to our HCM in the space of learning where I'm like, yes, I need that invisible thing too, but there's no way to make all that work seamlessly. And
No.
that's just one part of HR. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Give me the invisible things. I want the snake oil.
So you guys, Jessica, you've obviously been to a lot of different conferences. Madeline and I just got back from the big one, and then I think there's other ones that are going on constantly. SHRM is obviously the other giant one that's in our industry. What are they missing? What are these conferences missing that they could do better, or should do more of, or should do at all, or stop doing?
You know what I would selfishly want is every time I send someone to a conference, my mandate is you got to come back and report out and share what you learned. And like they're always like struggling, like putting together a deck or like doing a little lunch and learn, and like they kind of struggle their way through it. Like give each person at the end of the conference literally a set of PowerPoint slides of like, here's the stuff that you're going to say that you learned. Like, some of them have done these things of like, here's a formatter to give to your boss.
I don't want your entire deck that has no data on it. Give me like an executive overview slide, right? Or something.
Yeah. Well, I'll just like give someone like a set of slides they can use in a meeting to share what did they learn, some of the key trends, things take away. I mean, how easy would that be to just give each person that? And then me as a leader who's invested in whatever thousands of dollars, I'd be like, okay, you learned something, you brought it back. Thank you.
The other piece that I like, the other piece I like about that is if you send one person or even 2 or 3 people from your team, there's no way they're ever going to see all the content, right? You have to pick and choose, and you miss really good stuff.
Right.
And so that something like that is amazing because you could say, hey, as an overview of the conference, like here's big rocks, big trends, maybe even some specifics around certain things that are just like highlighted. I really like that.
You're welcome. I feel like I've made my contribution. I hate all the emails I get after a conference from all the vendors. So I'd like for us to stop that. So that's like, I spend so much time unsubscribing and I just get really mad about it. So that's low hanging fruit for us.
The ones I hate, the emails I hate are from the vendors that I'm actually working with, like that know me really well. And some junior salesperson trying to me and trying to get them to buy. And I'm like,
I get mad. I'm like, we're working with you. Tell this person to stop emailing me. I get really angry.
And the problem is it's all automated, right? So they're their CRM and they have no idea, but they're not smart enough to go in and actually like kind of like check their CRM and say, hey, how do we not piss somebody off that we're already working with?
I sent a tweet like that after HR Tech, something about, kind of check your list, like for analysts versus buyers. And someone very funny, like a CEO of a company was like, imagine what it's like when it's your company and you get the message. He was getting them from his own employees.
Oh my God, that's funny.
That's happening. What about you, Madeline? Is there anything that you would like to see more of, less of?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's so hard. I mean, I give anyone that is in the conference business so much credit. It's so hard. You're trying to please so many different people and everyone's got different opinions, and I think, the intentions are all awesome. I'm very curious to hear what people think about 30-minute sessions versus hour-long sessions.
Ooh.
That's where, I have my opinion, and then I just am curious for what attendees think about and buyers think about what do they want from content? Can you get enough content in 30 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like if you took away the hour and did 2 30-minute ones, would you get more to the meat of the content quicker for both of those sessions, right? And then so maybe you get double the amount of what you thought you got, or maybe 1.8% of what you thought versus just the one. I don't know.
Right. Or it depends. Like Josh needs an hour to 2 hours. Like there's so much value there. There's so much content he's sharing, so many slides. You can't do 30 minutes of Josh.
Yeah, but he has the constant stories, examples, all that stuff. Like he does this 100 times a year, so he's comfortable and can hold the stage. Again, the vast majority of people can't, and they're not vetted, right? So they just show up, and then like you watch the session clear out, like it starts full, and then little by little people are like walking out, like you just like, oh my God, like okay, I got it in the first 15 minutes, I got it. Like I don't need 45 more minutes of droning on about something that like you've already told us what it really is, and that's all you
Right.
have.
But to that point, like, do any conferences provide like coaching or speaker support for people? I don't think I've ever gotten that. And like, there's so many like
Sure
great people.
Manual does that
Do
now.
they?
They actually
Okay,
do, and they do
I like
multiple
that.
sessions. You don't have to join, but they offer it up
Yeah,
with a professional speaker coach, which I
love
think,
that.
that's really good, because I think it definitely would help out. Again, they're completely different because they don't do any kind of paid vendor content like for SHRM stuff. It's all kind of,
Mhm.
but I mean, doesn't mean that there's not vendors in there pitching, because they're constantly as consultants and everything else that are doing content. So the content still is up and down from that standpoint. Um, but yeah, like Madeline, I think, yeah, I agree. Like just even if they did like testing some of that stuff out, right? You don't have to do you can still have primarily a bunch of hour sessions, but then do some other like half-hour sessions here or
Right.
there, stuff like that. I think a lot of conferences are testing that out.
Do you all like going to Vegas? Like, can we change the locations? Like Vegas, San Diego. Like, I actually don't even want to go to those cities, so that's part of it too. Like, can we pick a better place? Like, I have no desire. I hate going to Vegas.
It's
So
so
I
hard
was,
now because of the
yeah.
size, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the size. So I hated Vegas like for a year. I mean, I've been going to Vegas for conference season for like, I don't know, 18 years.
Yeah.
And I remember in the beginning, I was like, this is horrible. I hate, like, I'll do anything not to go. And I shifted pretty quickly, especially over the past like 5, 6, 7 years, because it's so convenient. Like, I
Yeah.
actually love it for a conference because you're at your hotel in 5 minutes. You like the airport's 5 minutes from all
Yeah.
of the casinos and hotels. And that's so convenient. That's amazing.
And
And then
usually you don't have
restaurants
to
are all
leave,
good. The food's
right?
all good. You're always going to have a good meal and you're going to see everybody together. Like when HR Tech was in Chicago, which is a great city, it was so hard to get from
Yeah.
your hotel to Navy Pier
Yeah.
and back.
All right, Madeline, before we get out of here, because I know this is running long, do we want to share like BFF cocktail?
Yeah. Our party after hours.
So I'll do a quick version of it. So Madeline, like, and Kyle, Kyle Lagunas, who works with her, sorry, at Aptitude, kind of reached out and they were like, hey, we're doing this, and I wanted to join, so I kind of piggybacked, and so they call it the BFF Happy Hour or cocktail party or whatever. And we found a place. So it was a really cool place, like a speakeasy.
Tim found it. It was super cool.
But Madeline and I are like, kind of trying to watch the purse strings and let's not go crazy. It's just going to be a small group. We had like 40
people max.
And then we had this little side room, of course. And I'm not even let Kyle defend himself. He's not here. He comes in and totally is like, we need to have the full bar, and we, and just did this whole thing. So Madeline and I look at each other and we're like, okay, it's only
we're like mom and dad. We were like,
it's only going to be at like $1,500 more, and immediately like 130 people show up.
It was like 170.
Yeah.
They had to turn down a lot of people.
Yeah. And people were turning away. In 45 minutes into the party, Kyle's running around like yelling at us going, we need to shut this down, because the cost literally went through the roof.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Panic mode. He's like, there were some vendors came in and it looked like they brought some cocktail waitresses. I don't know if that's true, but it did look like that. And so Kyle freaked out. He's like, no, we're not paying for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was so funny. And it was one of those classic kind of Vegas moments where like you think you're having this little kind of party and it completely went off the rails, and almost immediately it went off the rails.
And like next thing you know, there's like a tiger on a chain.
Vegas,
remember anything the next day.
Oh, yeah.
Tim is missing teeth. Madeline's hair is
neck
pink.
tattoo. Yeah.
Kyle has a big hickey on his neck.
Yeah.
Yes, all of that.
All of that was about to go down. And we thought, all we could do was laugh. I mean, it was so funny. But funny. I think we had at least 3 vendors offer to pay the bill. We were just like, no, next year.
I was going up to people and saying, thank you so much for sponsoring. It was making me laugh so much. But I think I think it was the best thing we ever did, by the way. I think it was awesome. And people were talking about it. And I think it's such a better scenario than my other fear, which is like 2 people show up. It's like you, me, Kyle, and Jerry Crispin, and that's it.
Yeah. With now we have to try to figure out how do we drink $5,000 of wine.
I know, exactly.
All right. Hey, that was our HR Tech wrap-up show. So Madeline, Jessica, thank you as always for being a part of this. This is HR Famous. You made it through another episode. We will be back again next week. We are out.